Good morning, everyone. Hello, welcome to our uh, second, I would say, Palestine centered outreach and pedagogy event of the year. And we are very happy to be welcoming a very special panel, I would say, of speakers. And I'm going to introduce them as as we go around. And today's topic is the Scholasticide in Gaza, or the eradication, right, of academia, right, and scholarly work, etc. And we are very lucky because our speakers come from different levels from the education system at Gaza. And yeah, I'm going to keep it short, and I really want to give the floor to them. Please note that two of our speakers, so Dr. Omar Abuhammad and Mrs. Asma Mustafa, are both based in Gaza, where the internet connection is not necessarily optimal. So we are going to start with their presentations, and then we are going to move on to Dr. Wesam Amer, who is also from Gaza, originally currently based in the UK. And yeah, should we start with let's start with Omar. And I'm going to introduce you. So Dr. Omar Abuhammad is an English teacher and university lecturer based at Gaza. He is particularly invested in the question of integrating students into the educational process during times of crisis. And I want to alert the audience, as usual, we have the Q&A. If you look at the bottom of the screen, while our speakers are speaking, don't hesitate to include, any question you have so that we can answer them later. And I forgot totally to introduce myself. My name is Sabiha Allouche, and I'm a lecturer at the University in Exeter. And I'm very happy to be part of the BRISMES Outreach and Pedagogy committee. So without further ado, Omar, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sabiha, for this presentation, this starter. Again, I want to say to you that I'm so lucky being with you for this event, for this amazing event. We are so grateful for all who work hard in order to share all about the Palestinian people who are talking about the Palestinian people issues, um, about all the fields. We are talking about education as the part of all civilization in general. So if we are talking about this, it will be a very amazing thing to speak about and speak out all the events like this to be, we can say, noticed and share it according to this. So again, I say to you, thank you very much for organizing this event. Thank you very much for all who participated and getting this event as we are here. And thank you for Rosa for being a part of this event. And we are grateful for all who were trying to make a clear view of what we are facing here in Gaza. And I just send my thanks to my friend, Dr. Wesam, for giving me the chance to be with you. So thank you, Dr. Wesam. And for Mrs. Asma, thank you very much again for being with me as we are together for more than hundreds of meetings together. And this is also, we are today together and I'm so happy. So again, I'm talking about the idea of my presentation or talking, maybe I was confused from where to start because we are full of ideas that we are trying to share for the people, share for the world in general. But I'm trying to get a glimmer of hope to show you what we were before and what we are now, to share for the people who are getting something from us, to tell them what exactly our hope now, what exactly our situation now, what exactly the suffering and the circumstances around us. So maybe my presentation won't clear or won't present it exactly what we are facing, but I just send you, we can say that a view of are, what we were before and what we are uh, getting for today. So if I talk about why to call it as a glamour of hope, because maybe for a while that most of the people around, when they are just saying, do we have goals after all of destruction nowadays? We have to get books after all our kids, they are carrying the bottles of waters in order to drink, and the dishes for the food to get their food, because of the lack of the supplies, not only food, but also water. We are talking about thousands and thousands of kids who are trying to reach as possible as they can in order to get you can see the slice of little of water, because you know that all the situation of displaced kids, displaced people who are here living around, they are not living in homes, not living in standard places. They are living in shelters, what we can say shelters. It is not, we can't say that, because, you know, the tent camps, all of the supplies of the tent camps, they are like a desert. They are not finding anything to eat, nothing to drink. We can say they don't have the essential part of for their life. What they are talking about other things when we are talking about education. For the Maslow pyramid, are not getting for the fundamental parts of the we can say the elementary things for their life, how they can start dealing for the education. So when I'm talking about the glimmer of hope, that we, during all the circumstances, all this situation around, they are still having the idea of being a part of the world education. So as you know, if we want to build a civilization, and after that we are talking about the Palestinian people who are literate people, who are well educated, from the starter of the kids for his school to the professors at universities, all of they are trying to be a part.
Omar, I think you muted yourself by mistake.
Yeah,
Maybe you
yeah,
want to
sorry.
unmute yourself.
If we are talking about civilization, we start by building the human mind, and we are trying to reach this, which is the source of inspiration and creativity, as you know. So without education, no civilization can shine. And this is from, as you know, it is something all of us know about this. So no one will deny something like this. So if I'm talking about education during all the circumstances and the situation around, we are talking about the glimmer of hope and starter of the shine of something for getting schools, universities, and other things. So
You are muted.
yeah, okay, I'm so sorry. From where we reached that. Okay. So the last point, I'm just sharing, if we are talking about education, we are talking about civilization. This is actually the simple way that we can speak about education. Exactly, if I'm just talking about our schools before the aggression 2023, 27th October 2023, we have schools like this, full of students who actually who have their normal education who come from the morning in order to get their classes, and they have their own lessons, and this is their life with a full of energy. And during the last celebration, the war here in Gaza, you can just find like this during being, and I give example for one of the schools in Rafah, and this is a Muscat school, as you see, and Doha school. They are like shelters, and people are living here inside, and in tents, and the schools become like their shelters, having as their homes. So changing the schools from being as educational part to retain it back to be like a shelter, to be like a place to let people have something of security, and giving something of a we can say a secure place. But after that, in the photo in the left, as you see, this is what still from the school. There's nothing still. They destroyed the school, totally destroyed. So we are talking about a glimmer of hope that we start building not schools. We are start building tents, camps, and something like this in order to retain back to education. So we are talking about 400 schools were destroyed from the start of the aggression to now. And all the students, we are talking about more than thousands of students were during 2023 were without education, without any classes or any ideas of starting their schools. To be honest, as you see that in this photo, not just destroying it, and the schools, which is still until now. This is a recent photo of the of one of the schools that people are getting in. The school was targeted, and you can see a lot of videos related to this. So how I can talk about education during that time, and people are not finding a place to be secure inside. So this is something, as I want to say, that nothing could be as possible as we can share. According to the universities, as you see, this is a photo from the right, Alexa University, which is, I can say that this is an energetic place that full of people who are trying to be well-educated students to get their PA, MA, and PhD as well. But in the left photo, this is the same university, but it is full of a mountain of rubbish, a mountain of things that we are trying to describe, but unfortunately, the situation of the environmental the environmental matters, it is horrible, it is unbelievable, and also the university became like shelters for the people who are living in Khan Yunis and Mawasi. So from this side, from this part, we can just describe the situation as the occupation has destroyed all meanings of life in Gaza Strip. And there is nothing left for life to exist in. People have been killed. Stones have been destroyed. And trees have been uprooted. This is actually the short description of what happened here in Gaza Strip. If I'm just sharing the glamour of hope, as I started my first initiative from the when I returned from Rafah and getting to Khan Yunis as my first initiative to make the class for a class for our students in my rented room. This is for the neighborhoods and the kids who are my relatives and other, and I started my first initiative with them in order to teach them English language. And maybe this is the first time that I'm just asking and calling for people. We have to be included in education. We have to be joined in education. We are talking about in May 2024, and most of the people are forgetting something called education. So as I started sharing something like this and inviting other people that they have to make like this initiative, from teachers like Asma and other teachers who starting making their initiatives as individual ones, but actually when it makes something better and people starting in sending and asking their kids, their sons, their daughters, all of the families, they are so happy for being for this initiative. And I ask myself why we make this late till now. Our students who from more than 6 or maybe from more than 1 year and 4 months without education, this situation should be changed. And maybe this is something like glimmer of hope for all students who are just when I call them that they have to be in classes. The first time I thought that there may be something wrong and they will have something. I need to be as in the queues of the free soap kitchens. I need to be in the queues of the water tanks. But when I talk about education, most of the families who are displaced, who are actually helpless, hopeless, directly they send their kids to me. They sent their all the all families directly send there because they are saying to me, education is the first thing that we are thinking about. So from my first starting of my presentation, when I summarize civilization with education, this is not as what I just saying. It is exactly from the family's response that they are trying to let their kids being involved in education while all the circumstances are not helping. So after that, we have another thing to share, and we starting making a connection with other uh, as possible with the some societies, communities that we are in need for schools. And we starting the first school here as private school in Khan Yunis, which is donated from Oman country, and they directly accepted that. And we have now more than 2,000 students are getting their lessons, their education from grade 1 to grade 4. And still that in waiting list for the school, we have more than 4,000 students. So this is incredible that we still hope to get the education. We still hope that during the circumstances of not having the fundamental things of life, we still have something to share. So I'm trying to complete, but okay, they have something big wrong. So the time is off for me, or okay?
Maybe 1 minute more, maximum 1 minute.
Okay. Yes, okay, I'm sorry. So I'm sharing the last point here. According to the university students, that when I starting my initiative with making WhatsApp groups for all the my students who I taught them in university, and I'm talking about thousands of people in my community. and the forum, educational forum that I starting with them. I have more than 1,000 students who are getting lessons about, they are my students in university. We have a lot of challenges. The first one related to the internet access. It is not possible, it is not available, but also they are trying to move or walk more than 3 miles a day, and some of them they have about 20 miles in order to get to the place to get the internet. So I'm talking about future, uh, my students' future. They are trying to be involved. So this is like a call for all who want to help in educational part. We are still waiting something to return back to our life. Thank you very much for your listening. I'm so happy if you have any question to be directly answered it for you. I know that I'm confused from where to start. We are full of ideas, but maybe if you have questions, I want to answer you directly, and it will be actually it will be helpful for me to answer all your questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Sabiha, for your time. Thank you, Rosa, and for my speakers with me here, Ms. Asma, Dr. Wesam.
Thank you, Omar. And building on what you said, any question that the audience would like to ask our speakers, please use the Q&A box. You can find it at the bottom of the screen. To answer, to put in your questions. Some of them we can answer them on the spot. Others might require a longer answer. And please try to be specific as to who you would like to address your question. I can see that Asma is not with us anymore, which is fine. I guess we can go ahead with Wesam, but I might have to maybe interrupt you in the sense that the idea is to prioritize, Gaza and the internet connection from Gaza. Would that be something? Yeah.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I think it should be fine. First, thank you so much, Sabiha.
Let me introduce you since
Okay.
it's official now. So our next speaker is Dr. Wesam Amer. He's a CARA SRF researcher at Cambridge. Since 2020, he has been the Dean of the Faculty of Communication and Languages at Gaza University. He was a Fulbright scholar and researcher at Harvard's University Center for Middle Eastern Studies in 2022. He was a Marie Curie Fellow at Newcastle University from 2017 till 2020. And Dr. Amer obtained his PhD from Hamburg University in 2015. His interest in teaching and research center around political communication, violent language, warfare, and contemporary geopolitics, with the specific focus on terrorism, security, and radicalization. The floor is yours. We have Asma back. Sorry about that, but we're going, with the reality of the logistics. So
yeah, of course.
Asma, you ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course, I'm ready. And if my colleague, Dr. Wesam, would like to present now, it's okay. I'm sorry for the internet disconnection. It was sudden, and I chose this place because it provides people with a strong connection of the internet. But unfortunately, this is my luck. I know it.
No worries, no worries. But since luck is on your side now, I think it makes sense to, carry on with you.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Mrs. Asma Mustafa. She's an English language teacher at the Ministry of Education in Gaza since 2008. She's also a member of the Digital Empowerment in the Education team at the Ministry of Education. and the ambassador of education in Wakilet community. Her educational work is certified by Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert, Apple, Google, and National Geographic. And she's the recipient of several national and international teaching prizes, including the Global Teacher Award winner 2020, the Best Teacher in Palestine 2022, and the Creative Teacher of Palestine also 2022. Asma, the floor is yours, and let me know when you want me to start sharing the screen.
Yeah. Thank you very much for introducing me, and many thanks go to my colleague, Dr. Wesam Amer, for inviting me to this event. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Omar, for his presentation, and which was inspiring for me to continue what he has discussed before. Thank you for introducing me by this way, but today, Asma is completely different from the path before the 7th of October. Genocide has changed in me. I would like to present myself as the displaced teacher 8 times in 11 months, and the teacher who has launched her initiative, educational initiative, in the November 2023, exactly before the first month passed of the genocide, in the middle of bombs, rockets, killing thousands of people every day. I insisted to be a teacher, and my motto is, I will teach children around me as long as I'm alive. And I'm still teaching them. I managed to teach 2,000 children in my displacement areas. From time to time, I was displaced from, place to another. We are being asked by the Israeli army to leave this place and to move to that place. This is a red zone, and this is a green, this is safe, and this is not safe. This is a humanitarian, this is non. So people, keep moving. I have been living in a tent for almost 1 year. Okay, this is Asma after the 7th of October, and I would like to speak about the challenges facing the initiated teachers during the genocide time of Gaza. Yes, could you please share the PowerPoint? Yeah, thank you. First of all, teachers who have launched their educational initiatives in Gaza Strip are facing many major challenges that sometimes prevent them from completing their educational activities, and some other times lead to paralyzing them from carrying out the educational activities at all. At the top of these challenges is the problem of not feeling safe for both teachers and students. Safety will not be achieved unless the war in Gaza starts. Schools are being targeted, and 90% of Gaza schools are now destroyed, whether totally or partly, while the others became shelters for the displaced families since the 7th of October till now. More than 15,000 students were killed, and more than 20,000 became disabled because of this war. Many thousands of them have lost their parents, both or one of them. The educational loss is being recorded for the first time in the world to be 100% loss of education. And this is an exceptional case. This has never been happened in the war. Okay, the next slide. At all the teachers, all the sessions are being held in the tents or inside the shelters under the buzz of warplanes, and the sounds of explosions that surround us and our children from all sides. The occupation targets many shelters and the displacement camps daily. One of the major challenges that facing the teacher is the repeated displacement. As I mentioned before, in my, the way I introduced myself today, I was displaced 8 times in 11 months. And this happened with people around me, with, thousands of families and hundreds of teachers who initiated in this work to teach the children. Okay, so they have to move from one place to another, holding their small boards, pens, whatever sheets they have, in order to continue what have they started before with very precious effort, and restarting work is another challenge that sometimes in psychological situation for any initiated teacher may prevent him or her to continue, but this is another challenge. Moreover, the very difficult, miserable health situation, which is worse day after day, is one of those challenges leading the teachers to stop sometimes some educational sessions as a kind of responding to stop the virus to spread among the children as well as among their families too. And for me as an initiated teacher, I would like to protect my family, my children in the tent from having, the virus or the skin diseases, whatever, because, for example, the hepatitis is a spread, among all children here. Times many other diseases are spread, very fast and very easily. In addition to all of this, one of the most significant challenges we are facing, that unfortunately, the role of the official Palestinian education system has been absent for the whole year and more till now. The teachers work individually and are still working individually as a kind of initiative, launching initiatives, individual initiatives. And the field is suffering from the non-systematic organized work of education. Sometimes teachers don't know what to do with the children. Okay, sometimes they ask me, they keep calling and ask what to do, what's next, what's, from time to time. And this makes a very big problem for us. I always suggest for my colleagues to tell stories and play with the children as a kind of discharge, emotional discharge, because we need it during the trauma time. It is more difficult for teachers to work inside tents and with the minimal resources, and the inability for the initiative teachers to provide the educational materials and tools needed to do their charitable work, such as, we need boards, we need books, we need pens and pencil, some other basic educational tools for both teachers and students. But those things are not available in Gaza Strip at all. And if they are available, they cost their normal prices 5 times duplicated. And this is only in the case of finding them. We hardly buy sheets, colors, pens for the children. And what makes matters more complicated is what was announced by the Palestinian Ministry of Education regarding to move towards the e-learning in Gaza Strip, to join the, they asked the students in Gaza Strip who are suffering and living under, living in the genocide time. Can you imagine those children are being asked by the Ministry of Education in Ramallah in the West Bank to join the virtual classrooms that the ministry had established in Ramallah previously to teach the children of Gaza. Can you imagine the problem that having teachers in the West Bank and the students from Gaza? In the light of Palestinian families in Gaza to provide the smart devices for the children, the difficulty for providing the internet or the fast internet.
Okay, I think Asma is having some difficulties. I am sharing my screen, so I don't want to touch anything. Do you think, Rosa, we could maybe look at the questions? We have a couple of questions in the Q&A. One is still open, and maybe we can answer it before Asma gets back. Hopefully in a few minutes, the time it takes to answer it, we can resume Asma's presentation.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Was I absent much? And how long? How long? 5
You're fine. You're
seconds?
fine. We'll resume. Let me reshare the screen.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay, I'm just this is a practical this is a practical example of what I was discussing before, leaving this it was out of my hand, out of my control, but this is what I am exactly talking about. This is a point of work here, which is with solar system of power and strong internet connection. But for the children, for the poor families who do not find any, kind of humanitarian service, it is difficult for everyone to secure the most basic humanitarian for survival, like food and water. So you're talking, the Ministry of Education in Ramallah is talking about and suggestions like e-learning system instead of the popular, activating the popular system method, like teaching without schools, or what is called a popular teaching. This is the kind of teaching happening when it's time of disasters, like catastrophes, like people who are suffering like genocide. It is very important to work with the children face to face, not to giving them information. Our children now here in Gaza do not need information. What they need is a kind of emotional discharge. And this is exactly what teachers are doing inside the tents and shelters. It's miserable situation. And what is adding, something complicated is the decision of the Minister of Education. I'm so upset with this during the genocide. I'm so upset with no electricity in Gaza Strip since the 7th of October. We can hardly charge our cell phones. I pay money to charge here my cell phone every day. Okay, but what about the children? So it's one of the challenges that we are facing. Despite all of this, the pioneers teachers, the one who have launched their initiatives, their individual initiatives, alone were able to be the strong voice of the sheets and pens to the whole world, demanding and calling for the right of the Palestinian children to return to their schools. And we managed to convey our lofty message about the necessity of rallying around us. And the pioneering teachers who raised the slogan, "We will remain missionary teachers as long as we are alive." And when teachers always ask Asma, what's next, and keep calling me, what's next, and how can we manage, who can support, who can look at us, what we are doing here, I always tell them, you should be a teacher for the people around you as possible as you can. You can work, you can busy your time, you can busy your children time in order to teach them how to live, how to adapt with this, miserable, how to solve their problems, how to think critically, how to move, how to play, how to, it's like what is called popular education. It's not the time for giving the children, information through Zoom or what is called Teams, launched by Ministry of Education. And I am supporting the idea of yes to education, even in shelters, even in the middle of tents, in the streets or sidewalks, on our destroyed houses, neighborhoods, partly or totally. Yes to education. If all schools close their gates and turning into shelters, yes, we are the teachers. We will be the schools for our children, and we can continue. We can be the books when the old books in Gaza Strip, by the way, have been burnt to light the cooking fire. Can you imagine the miserable situation we are living here? The miserable educational. It's genocide of people and genocide of education. Education is also, you know, dying. Education is dying. What we are doing here as the teachers, we just provided children with what is called first aid, education first aid. I call, you know, I think, you know, a specific time should be done some specific uh, procedures in order to take the children after the genocide, after the you know the next day of the war, inshallah, teachers can do their work. But this time we shouldn't leave students and children like, you know, living arbitrary. No, we should take them into our sides. We should play with them. We should listen to them, you know, to their stories. Many of them have lost their families. Many of them are living alone. Many of them need, you know, the teacher is not only like a chalk and a board. The teacher is a mother. The teacher is a father. The teacher is, you know, the hope for the future. And yes, to education, even on the sands of the deserts, even in exile, even in rebel of our homeland, we will be the curriculum and the approach, and we will be the path and a way. We will be the hope despite losing hope. And may Allah, you know, lead this all to end very soon, and we come back to our schools. We can draw on their faces again. As long as we are alive, as I said, I will be a teacher. That's all what I have for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Asma, for a very strong intervention and for approximating us really to what happens every day. Are you guys hearing a weird sound, or is this just my computer? It's just my computer. So I think we're going to move on to our last speaker, Dr. Wesam Amer. I don't think it hurts anyone if I introduce you again, so I'm going to introduce you again. So Dr. Wesam Amer is a CARA Senior Research Fellow Researcher at Cambridge. Since 2020, he has been the Dean of the Faculty of Communication and Languages at Gaza University. He has a Fulbright Scholar and Researcher at Harvard University Center for Middle Eastern Studies in 2020. He also was a Marie Curie Fellow at Newcastle University from 2017 to 2020. His interests in teaching and research center around political communication, violent language warfare, and contemporary geopolitics with a focus on terrorism, security, and radicalization. Dr. Wesam, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sabiha. Thanks also to Rosa, also for BRISMES organization or association for organizing this. As you mentioned at the beginning, a special panel because we are very, I think, very privileged to have our colleagues, Dr. Omar and Ms. Asma, live from Gaza. So thanks a lot for having us as a Palestinian educators or Palestinian academics from Gaza. Thanks for our colleagues, Dr. Omar and Ms. Asma, again, for sharing their daily life experiences under the genocide, under the war, that such kind of experience is not reported in Western media outlets mainly or mostly. The complicity of the genocide is not only shown in the attitudes or behaviors of some universities, but also in the media outlets or the Western media outlets in reporting the Israeli genocide, which has been going not only from October 7th, but I think for decades. What we have seen in Gaza since October 7th, 2023 is a second Nakba for the Palestinian. Our grandparents and our parents and grandparents have experienced the first Nakba in 1948 and the Naksa in 1967. And our generation is witnessing and living the second Nakba, the genocide, which has been going for over 100 days, and the world is complicit. The world is silent. The moral responsibilities of the universities, unfortunately, did not or have not reached the level of actions. Today, I will talk about the impact of the war on the higher education system in Gaza. I'm not sure if you have seen, I'm sharing my file here. What we have before October 7th, I don't say we had a normal life, but we tried our best to survive the Israeli siege as much as we could. So we tried to celebrate the graduation of our students, organize conferences. We enjoyed our life in Gaza despite the long siege and the blockade. Then on October 7th, everything has been collapsed. We tried, the universities, the schools, we tried our best to survive as much as we could. In Photo One, together with some colleagues and neighbors, we used to charge our mobiles, with the solar panels, because the electricity in Gaza has gone not only during the genocide or during the war now. Of course, since October 7th, the people in Gaza have not seen the electricity at all. It's complete darkness at night. But this doesn't mean that before the war, we had electricity. We had it only for 4 to 5 hours a day. And you can imagine, during that time, we had to keep the quality of education, quality of learning, quality of teaching, quality of research. So the current genocide has impacted all sectors in the Gaza Strip: the infrastructure, the medical facilities, the education, the shelters, the religious sites. The war targets the Israelis, target every single sector in Gaza. People talk about scholasticide, and there are different terminologies here, which I would like to refer quickly to the terms of the genocide. Wherever the term scholasticide, educide, epistemicide, all these terms would mainly refer to the genocide. All these, scholasticide or educide, epistemicide, spatial side as well, are part or are mechanisms of the general umbrella or the general context of the Israeli genocide. Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza against every single sector, as I have mentioned. So here there are different definitions of genocide that referring mainly to the systematic destruction of universities, of higher education, of education in Gaza. Within these various definitions, I would say the main question remains the question of Palestine is a litmus test for international law, for human rights, and their ability to address historical wrongs. And actually, the litmus test is how we can take actions to respond to the genocide and the scholasticide in Palestine. So the genocide, takes various actions, scholasticide, and here the new term, speciocide as well, which targets the land, the trees, the people, the education, the health, and so on. So the question of Palestine is really, as I quote here, Dr. Nimar Sultani, it remains a litmus test for the international law and the humanitarian rights. And I would like to add, it's a litmus test for media complicity as well. The way how media, the Western media, reports and covers the Israeli genocide. Just a quick educational statistics from Palestine. We have all our children enrolled in the schools. So 100% of all our children are enrolled in the schools. In terms of the higher education institutions, we have mainly 12 higher education institutions in Gaza, because people in Palestine generally believe that or consider education as a means of survival through which they can achieve mobility, financial security, but also pride and psychological assurance. So in Palestine, or Palestinians hold a long-running reputation as the world's best educated refugees. And I think Dr. Omar has mentioned, about the education and the schools situation in Palestine. As I said, like in Gaza, we have 12 institutions in Gaza that vary between private, public, and governmental institutions. We have been suffering a lot in terms of facing the Israeli blockade before October 7th, because the genocide, the scholasticide, has not started on October 7th. For the past 17 years, their intellectual imprisonment, that we were trapped into Gaza Strip. We were not allowed to travel abroad. We were not allowed to go to the West Bank, just which is 2 hours away from Gaza, to go to for example, to a Birzeit University, or to Al-Najah University in the West Bank, or even to Hebron University, which is just 1 hour from the main city in Gaza. Also in the previous wars, in 2008 and 2009, 2014 as well, Israel targeted the main 2 universities, Al-Azhar University and the Islamic University of Gaza, causing a loss of billions of US dollars. And this, of course, has reflected on the quality of education, the quality of teaching and learning. There is much Israeli censorship and surveillance and control on education and higher education in Palestine. And this is much seen, not only in the Gaza Strip, but also in the universities in the West Bank. We always see the Israeli invasion Israeli soldiers' invasion into universities in the West Bank, going to arrest students or academics, or just disrupting the education of the universities and, of course, the schools. Israel has a long record of assassinating Palestinian intellectuals, Palestinian public figures, and so on. And all these types of Israeli genocide or scholasticide have been going worse and worse in the current war. So Israel targets and destroys all the campuses of the universities in Gaza. Israel destroys the libraries of the universities, and you can see here in the picture an Israeli soldier in a library that is, you know, the books are burned. All the campuses at the beginning of the war, like in the first months, have turned into shelters to the schools and the universities, mainly in the south of the Gaza Strip. So with this, I think this also, I would add here the killing of Palestinian academics in the current war, and I'll just refer to the colleagues that I used to work with, and Dr. Sufyan Taye. He was the president of the Islamic University, and he was killed alongside his family in Jabalia camp. Also, two colleagues of mine, we worked together at Gaza University, Dr. Imtinan and Miss Hiba Al-Abadla. They were very close friends and colleagues. We worked together. And actually, Hiba was my colleague at the same department of media. Dr. Wesam Al-Isa was a friend of mine and colleague from Al-Aqsa University, and he was a CARA fellow at Manchester University. And he was actually supposed to come to Leicester University before he was killed. So we lost all our colleagues. We lost our colleagues. We lost our academics. Over 100 academics and thousands of students have been killed. We are not talking about 1 student, 2 students, 5 students. We are talking about thousands of students. Hundreds of academics have been killed, even though one life matters. But then the complicity, the genocide is conducted against the academics and the students in Gaza. We talk about over 50,000 of people have been killed, and still the word is silent. The word is complicit. The universities do not take actions. The media outlets do not report the genocide in a way to raise awareness, or not only to sympathize with the people, which is necessary, of course, but still it is not enough. Israel has caused critical damage to our vital infrastructure of the universities. 100% of the universities have been gone. All the infrastructure is gone. There is a loss of security and safety in the Gaza Strip, which both security and safety are much necessary. And actually, without them, there would not be education. There would not be universities. I think this has caused many people to reprioritize their needs and demands. Now people stand in longer queues for hours and hours to find pieces of bread or to find clean, drinkable water. And they used to stand hours and hours and get up in the early morning. Of course, I feel happy that I could leave Gaza, but it was not my choice. It was not my desire to leave. But I'm still concerned about my family, my friends, my colleagues. And here I'm glad to see Dr. Omar, who with whom I used to work in the same university and to organize many events. And also, I'm happy to see Miss Asma together with us to give us a hope and, of course, a sign of steadfastness and resilience of the Palestinian academics during this difficult time. It's not only difficult, actually, it is much more than difficult. I always say the terms genocide, massacres, war would not describe the real situation and how people survive the genocide. Of course, the scholasticide in Gaza has risen the academic unemployment. Hundreds of academics have lost their positions and their jobs. We still are committed to continue our work in Gaza, but all this work is voluntarily based. We still have the moral commitment to continue to support our students and our academics in Gaza. All our academics in Gaza work without getting any payment at the moment. And you can imagine how they work and which situation they work. The genocide in Gaza and the scholasticide mainly caused a high psychological toll, leaving a significant mental health and trauma impacts. I don't say like every single student in Gaza, but yes, every single student, every single academic, every single person in Gaza is traumatized. I'll just read here. Our students in Gaza are not learning to become the next generation of scientists and artists. Instead, they are being forced to learn to survive one of the most destructive bombing, rather than to learn. People learn how to learn and do quality of research and quality of teaching and learning. People are trying to survive the most destructive bombardment, the most atrocity campaigns in history, as well as one of the worst hunger crises anywhere in the world. Still, we think that the genocide will end sooner or later, but then we think we have to be ready for the next day of the genocide, and we should work together to respond to the systematic destruction. I think it is still visible to rebuild or reconstruct the higher education system in Palestine. Yet, the reconstruction is very challenging and very demanding, and I think we should work to work collectively together. There have been many events, many initiatives to bridge the silence and hope, to rebuild and to encounter the scholasticide. Internally, as you can see in the photos, our students and our academics organize the seminars online as much as they have internet connection. And in the terms of internet connection, people use eSIM cards with limited data. But still, they are resilient to continue the work. All the universities in Gaza have resumed online learning using platform, the model, but still, with the limited data, people try, or students and academics use WhatsApp channels and groups to communicate the teaching learning materials. As I said, like, to respond to the scholasticide, we should have the scholasticide, which means a systematic destruction or systematic construction plans. So we need more international collaboration for academic solidarity and funding. And solidarity here doesn't mean sympathy or empathy. Solidarity means taking actions to help people, taking actions forward to support the resilience of people in Gaza, the academics and the students mainly. And funding here does not mean a humanitarian aid, as the Western media outlets and the Western governments try to publicize. So people, the Western governments mainly, or if you talk about the UK, just focus on the humanitarian aids rather than, having sustainable funding to resume the education or to reconstruct the higher education institutions in Gaza. So I would call, I think, one basic step that the universities in the UK should do is to collectively call for an immediate ceasefire. We have over 50,000 people killed. And what are the people waiting for? This is the basic step, this is the basic procedure that each person who believes in human rights, who believes in values of humanity, the principle of humanity, just to call for an immediate ceasefire and end to the war. Without having the ceasefire, this means the loss of security and safety in Gaza will continue. And this means thousands or hundreds and thousands of people will lose their life or will be killed. We need also, the universities should advocate for Palestinian students' right in higher education. And of course, to amplify the Palestinian academic voice. And I'm grateful for BRISMES to call us out, to invite us for this panel and this meeting, actually. And we need to see more and more panels and more workshops to come and to amplify the Palestinian voice. I'm glad to hear from my colleagues, Dr. Omar and Asma, with whom I have been displaced multiple times. And they still, unfortunately, are displaced from one time from one place to another. And if I talk about displacement, we would not really describe it as much as we live it. Because once you get the evacuation order to leave to another place, you leave everything. You try to take whatever you can. But if you have children, if you have sons or daughters, then you need to escape. You need to go to another place. And this is exactly, you can imagine how such situation, when you ask your colleagues, please, can you upload the test? And he said, no, I got an evacuation order in the neighborhood. Then they escaped to another place. And then they got another evacuation order. So they escaped or they flee to another place and so on. So people in Gaza are kept displaced or moving from one area to another, from one neighborhood to another. We need to support the basic e-learning initiatives in Gaza. From my point of view, e-learning is the only viable option left to the people in Gaza, since all the campuses, the physical infrastructure in Gaza has been destroyed. And we need to hold Israel accountable for its crimes in Gaza. Israel has been left without holding the responsibility, without being responsible for its crimes, not only in this current genocide, but for the past wars. And just imagine if Israel has been held responsible for the previous wars. I'm sure Israel would not exaggerate in killing Palestinians in Gaza. just here, I would like to share some quick ideas about what we can do together in the day after. I think we still need to support technical implementation, the e-learning platforms. Also to establish, universities can establish scholarship and fellowship programs, and specifically for Palestinians. There is a program for Afghans, for Ukraine, and you can imagine how many funding resources are available for our colleagues from Ukraine, from Iraq, from Syria. But so far, there is no any Scholars at Risk program for Palestinians. And this doesn't mean that we need to bring all people outside Gaza, but we can support the resilience of academics and students in Gaza. We should have remote fellowships to support the people, the academics inside Gaza, in a way to support their steadfastness and resilience. On the other side, also, we should prevent brain drain. We need to keep the people in Gaza. So I believe that the remote fellowships would be a good solution to support people in Gaza and would cover a lot of things for the people in Gaza. All our universities rely on tuition fees of the students. And since the students do not pay their tuition fees, the universities could not pay the salaries and cover the running costs of the universities. We do not have funding resources available for research or for universities. So universities completely rely on tuition fees. And since October 7th, and since actually May, when the universities resumed online learning, the universities in Gaza do not charge the students tuition fees, or they delay, getting the fees. So we need to support the students with grants, with funding. So indirectly, we can help the universities in Gaza resume, or at least cover some parts of the running costs. So having remote fellowships for academics, grants to cover some parts of the tuition fees would help. Would not cover, of course, would not cover everything, but at least partially it would lead to reconstruct and support the universities in Gaza. There are many scholarship schemes in Gaza. We have, for example, the HISBAL. HISBAL is only 10 or I think 7 scholarships for MA and PhD, but we need to expand it. HISBAL is a good example, is a good model, but we need to see more than 7 or 10 scholarships, and this is by the hand of the universities. You can imagine how many universities in the UK. If each university gives only one scholarship for a Palestinian students, just only one scholarship in a year. So you can imagine how many scholarships we can have. If the universities allow joint projects with colleagues from Gaza, if you assume in every single discipline, how many joint projects can we have in Gaza? So it is a win-win equation. The way to keep the way to reconstruct the education in Gaza and to support the resilience of people, and mostly to reproduce knowledge, because knowledge is power, and knowledge is more powerful than the genocide, than the war, than the conflict. I think.
Thank you, Wesam.
I will stop here.
Yes, please.
I just want to finish my talk actually with praises from a poem by our friend and colleague, Dr. Rifat Al-Arir, And actually, it refers to what Dr. Omar started his talk about, the glimmer of hope. And Dr. Rifat stated, if I must die, you must live, to tell my story, to sell my things. And if I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale. We need to have a tale of success and a hope, not only for our generation, but for the next Palestinian generations. Work collectively would bring a hope, resilience, and steadfastness of people in not only in in Gaza Strip, but also in the whole Palestine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wesam. I mean, I wish we could go over, the whole of the presentation. I think everything we heard must be said, must be repeated constantly. I mean, if you ask me at this stage, I don't see why there shouldn't be another, another webinar on not only Scholasticide, but like you told us, right, the Scholasticide. And yeah, and I had to cut you off because we do have a couple of comments, questions, etc. And I think we learned a great deal from, what you told us, especially in terms of what to do and what not to do, right, when trying to help, support, etc. But I mean, and you're now based right in the UK, so I'm sure not all UK universities have similar approaches, but there is, I think, fair to say there is institutional resistance, right, to doing things. Why does it have to take more than 18 months to establish a postgrad scholarship, right, for MA students from Gaza, from Palestine? Why is it that when you do your studies and you approach the institution, right, these are my recommendations. This is done with our Palestinian colleagues. These are their recommendations. This is how we can move forward. And then it's all about, oh no, but we don't do it this way, right? This rigidity, this inability to move, to see past the normal, right? The ordinary, the business as it should be conducted. Almost no obliviousness, right? That there is a crisis, there is a genocide happening in Gaza. And I think this is what a few of our comments meant in the session, in the Q&A, window, like politically speaking, because practically I think everyone will be happy, right, to construct these modules, the e-learning, etc., give of their time to teach remotely, etc. But I think the real challenge is, how do we do it through our institutions? Or maybe the answer is to just abandon the institutions, right? And I don't know. So I was wondering what you would say about that.
Well, firstly, let me thank every academic, every institution in the UK and in the world for their institutional resistance as well. It does not mean that every single university or every single academic is complicit. No. We do respect the efforts of many, many academics in the UK and in the world to support, the Palestinian academics and Palestinian institutions, and of course the students. Just to share a quick observation about the initiatives. There are many initiatives, but I think the lack of coordination among these initiatives, among the various groups that work on education and higher education in Palestine is obvious. So we need to do much coordination among the groups, among the initiatives to unify our voice so we can convince the institutions we can convince the universities not only to show one side of solidarity, which is sympathy and empathy. We need to see the universities taking actions actually to respond systematically to the Scholasticide. We need to work collectively so we can find ways to respond to the Scholasticide. First, we should have a clear plan. I think we strategically think about scholarships, fellowships, joint grants. Institutionally, I think the universities can have MOUs, memorandum of understanding with universities in Palestine, not only in Gaza. And this would allow many professors to work together with their colleagues from the Palestinian universities. So I call always for a collective approach that based on much coordination among the various groups and various initiatives, and to come up with a clear plan how to respond to the genocide.
Thank you, Wesam. I'm looking at there are a lot of words of encouragement, comments, appreciating all the presentations, thanking you for, well, I would say your resilience. I think these are really, sitting in the UK, right, make you place everything into perspective. But I also wanted to take the opportunity, maybe ask Omar. Asma is away again, but maybe ask Omar before we run out of time if he would like to make, give any last minute remarks, an idea that came too late. Or maybe not, but we can ask them again when they come back. I just wanted to answer one of the questions. Somebody asked if we could have, students from Gaza actually talking and sharing their perspectives, which was something both you and Omar suggested. And so I would tell the anonymous attendee that I think I agree with you. I think there is scope, and I think we should work towards doing this event. However, when we thought about it, it was a little bit perhaps too late. And I don't mean it too late in the sense of organizing. The organizing is easy. But again, the institution comes in, right, with all their ethical and risk clearance and what does it mean to include children or minors in these events? And, these are some of the things these are some of the baffling obstacles we come across sometimes. It's so obvious. Why is it always a no? Why is it a rigid no? And then you have to do a risk assessment and it takes 10 days, 2 weeks, who knows? But yeah, again, there's no reason why you shouldn't think about it for another time. Sorry, I have this annoying sound happening again. So yes, the event is recorded and it will be broadcast as usual on our YouTube channel and our BRISMES page. We are nearing the end. Well, I mean, it is the end. I wanted to share with you the call for BRISMES. It's nowhere, I don't think it's, one of these long-term funding initiatives that are desperately needed. But it is an initiative launched by BRISMES. It's been going on. We launched it at last year's conference. It's still on. So yeah, I just wanted to remind everyone, and even if you're not donating financially per se, please do help us spread it around on your media channels, personal accounts, etc. And with that, I return to our speakers. Wesam, Omar, Asma, any concluding remarks before we and the event.
I'll just wait until Dr. Omar or Asma share.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, Asma.
Yeah, thank you very much for holding this session. And briefly, I would like to, recommend the important educational, universities, schools, international ones outside Gaza, to raise their voice, to support us with their raising your voices in order to support Gaza, stop the genocide, and let us be back to our schools again, which are totally or partly destroyed again, but people are still alive. So if we survive, we can take our children to rebuild their minds again, to give them the first aid. It's a significant time, a very difficult time. Need your help. Our humanity should be there side all over the world to support them during the genocide or after, the next day of the war, inshallah, is going to be soon. And thank you for your great offer. Thank you for raising this link, by university. I hope this fund goes to the children directly, to the teachers, to the initiated ones, whether they are teaching Tawjihi, high secondary schools, or children, or supporting the student universities, and for completing their studies, or it could go for supporting them psychologically, because this is a part of the time, this is a part of treatment during this very hard time. Thank you one more time for inviting me in this session, and I hope that in this session is the first of many others, inshallah, in the future. Thank you.
And thank you, Asma. Omar? Omar, I don't know why I'm pronouncing your name as
I'm
Omar.
here. Yeah, no worries. I'm here with you. Actually, thank you very much for this session. It's really amazing. I feel that I returned back before 7th of October. I returned to the webinars, returned to be included in the communities. This is really amazing. Thank you very much. Thanks for this chance, Dr. Wesam, for getting me to here in this session. And we hope to return back to our sessions and our connection with the world, actually. So this is a very, we can say this is a changing point. Maybe it will be as a changing point of our thinking for the upcoming events and upcoming sessions like this. And I promise you that I will start making sessions with our students like using Zoom and other platforms, as it is succeeded now, so it will be succeeded, inshallah. And to return back to connect with the world. I have a lot of friends who are from different countries. We are talking about maybe I have 300 of schools that I connect with them. This is a very important chance to return back to connect them. So thank you very much, Dr. Sabiha, for the decision, for your time in organizing this one. I appreciate all single efforts that you actually did and is still doing. Thank you very much, Rosa, for being a part of this amazing event. And to be honest, building hopes return to us as teachers, because we are like messengers and we are carrying the message of being a part of changing the world. And according to this, we are working in very horrible situations, very horrible circumstances. I'm just getting you, and I'm inside. I'm trying to be in the free soap kitchens, like a chef for now, not a teacher. And after that, I want to be maybe a cook, and after that, maybe I will be, we can say, a holder of the water tanks to get water for my
You
for my
forget
family.
dishwasher.
So a lot of things. I have about 100 jobs during the displacement time. So we have to return back. A glimmer of hope will be by our efforts as teachers. And this is a very important chance for you to share about us, share about our stories. We are full of stories. This autonomy of being as teachers working with hard situation, with terrible circumstances, but we are still talking about education. We still talking about we have to involve our students in the in education stream. Maybe when I saw my not only my students, my son and my daughter, they are trying to open their books. I feel that maybe this genocide will be ended soon. So this is the glimmer of hope. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Omar, for for these words, and of course for Miss Asma. I feel really speechless to speak anything after you, actually. But thanks a lot for giving us the hope, and I'm sure that one day you will return to your weekly radio program, Palestine in English. So inshallah, one day we will come back to this, and I will be very privileged to be your guest, inshallah, one day in Gaza at the radio program. Thanks a lot for BRISMES for organizing this panel, for amplifying the Palestinian voice, Palestinian academics' voice, and of course for organizing, for all your efforts you have been doing to raise awareness about Scholasticide and about the importance of education in Palestine. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Well, thank you one last time for our beautiful speakers. Thank you for everyone who helped make this event happen in front of the scenes and behind of the scenes. And well, we look forward, to another event. I'm sure if we persevere, we can put another event together. So take care, everyone. Thank you for attending, and have a great day. Thank you.